All right, everyone. I actually now know what's happening. So after probably almost 2 weeks, right? We've wondered and we've pondered ever since the TR to PR pathway program was announced. This amazing gift from heaven, literally, for many of you. We finally are on the verge of seeing the guide released. Now, I attended the meeting from 12:30 to 1:30, and there were 5 people on it. So 5 people in that meeting. There was the head of KPIC, communications person for KPIC. There was myself and Ravi Jain, the immediate past chair of the CBA. There was David Chalk of KPIC, of Acadie, David Chalk. Wonderful, wonderful people. And that was it. And then the head people from immigration, the ones that developed the actual tech, that developed the portal, they gave us a literal walkthrough of everything, what it looks like, how you register, how the forms are. There was, all of the operations people that were there, telling us how this was going to play out, the communications, when it was going to happen, and answered all of our questions. Then I promptly jumped to a meeting that I had with, I had consults. I had 3 consults. So I would have done this even earlier. But then once I hit 3:30, I needed to relate to the Canadian Bar Association. So from 3:30 to 4:30, I did a live session with the Canadian Bar Association, just trying to answer their questions. The only reason that I was there is because they had faith in me to serve as the national chair. And so anything that I learned, they were the ones that were going to get the information first. And the members of my group, my private Facebook group, which I know you guys, those who subscribe to the course, and I know people are always complaining about how I'm pushing people to the course. You guys, there's a reason that I'm pushing people to the course. The people that are in that course are so prepared. They are so prepared. There's some little nuances that we're going to have to tweak, but they are so prepared. So I will not make any excuses for telling you to click on the link below and subscribe and join, that it's not too late. I've got a lot of work that I've got to do, building things out in that course. But right now, this time is all about the world. And it's my opportunity to share this with all of you. And so I recommend that you go and invite people to join, tell people, because I'm going to share every ounce of information that I can about this program. I have an hour to do it. There's not going to be a lot of time for questions because I'm going to tell you what to expect. I'm going to tell you what to start working on. I'm going to give you every ounce of advice, direction that I can, so that you understand what to expect. Now, as this has evolved, there's been conflicting information that's come out, and then others have stopped, and then there's been more information, and something has countered what we believe to be true, and that has not changed. There's new things that I'm going to be updating because, for the simple reason, now I know exactly what it is. Like I said, they gave us a walkthrough of the actual portal, and it was very enlightening. But the interesting thing about it, it's not much different than what I've already been teaching you guys. So a couple things off the top. Like most of you are aware, the minister has a big announcement, a big notification tomorrow, right around noon Eastern time. And at that time, the guide will be released as part of that splash. And you guys, every single one of you, are going to grab that guide and you're going to pull it open and you're going to digest every single aspect of that guide, which we knew. There's nothing surprising about that. But what you will see in there is that there is a new form. There's a new schedule specifically for the TR to PR pathway. So it's never been seen before. Tomorrow you'll see it. When it comes to the forms themselves, I have told you, based on instructions that I received from immigration, that what signatures were required on the forms. So first, no signature, then yes, through the regular course signatures. And then now I'm telling you finally, no signatures. And it's been absolutely just crazy, driving me bonkers with the information, because understand, I get it right from the source. And so when I'm getting it right from the people who are creating it and I'm sharing it with you, and I have all along, I trust what they tell me. So when there's changes and shifts, it's absolutely infuriating sometimes because I'm sharing it with you. So the guide is going to be the be all and end all. It's going to have everything in there for you. I shouldn't say it's the be all and end all. It'll have some as good as guides can be, but it will have a list of the forms. So make sure you go in there, take a look. It'll have a list of the documents. I'm going to go through and talk to you about some of them and make sure that you understand what you need to do right now. And I'm going to clarify some big misgivings. Okay. So the interesting thing is that there's this massive spread of information about how the medicals and how the police certificates all were mandatory and needed to be included within the application. And I'll get to that in a little bit, the distinction between what mandatory means and what it doesn't mean. And so those of you who are panicking because you don't have those, please don't panic. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so let's start from the top. So like I said, the guide is going to be released at right around noon, right around the time that the minister, when he goes live, and that's kind of Eastern time, that's when they'll release the guide. And you should be able to see it. There'll be a news circular right on the IRCC website. And from there, you download it and you start working on those forms. In the guide, there will be a section that lists all the forms. We may even be able to see some of those forms appearing early in the IRCC form list, but we'll deal with that. Those of you who have paid for your fees in advance, don't worry. The fee process is exactly as we suspected. It's a receipt that's going to be uploaded. So you don't have to request a refund. The fee, and this is where it's so hard because there's so much misinformation. There's other YouTube channels, other people that are trying to post information that's all secondhand. And that's an interesting aspect, is watching people interpret and spin from what they heard from two other people instead of, because, well, simply put, they just didn't have access directly to the source of information. And when the source of information didn't have information, you can imagine how I was. So frustrated. Okay, so those of you who've gone and you've booked, you've paid for your fees, you're okay. You can use those fees. Those fees will, because the process involves you uploading that fee. Now, the next step, when is it actually going to be visible? It will be released at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is 10 a.m. Mountain. That's 9 a.m. in Pacific. And out in the Atlantic provinces, well, you can add on another hour and a half, right? So that is when it's going to go live on Thursday. The process is no different than what I've talked about. Individuals with your own email address, you register. Once you get the registration, then you log back in, and the portal is brand new. It's kind of got some nice little images around it. It's kind of a nicely designed, and some very, very, very big players who are used to doing massive, massive things. I'm not at liberty to release who helped the government develop this, but there's some big players who know how to create platforms that have multiple people accessing, like billions of people. And so they help the government to make sure that this portal isn't going to crash. And I'm pretty confident it's not going to crash. So those of you who were hoping that maybe because you didn't have your language test results that it would crash and that you would be able to have another opportunity to submit later if it was delayed long enough, all we can hope for right now, at least if you're in that category, is that it's just going to take people who haven't taken my course, who are still figuring this out, who haven't hired a representative who understands immigration, who are only going to look at this for the first time tomorrow. My goodness, you guys are going to be scrambling and you are not going to be ready to submit your application on May 6th at 10. You're not. You'll be able to register, you'll be able to look at things, but there is a lot that you're going to need to figure out and sort through because this is a full permanent resident application. It's not some lightweight thing that you're tossing together. Okay, so the portal, what does it look like? Think of it in a way, well, if you go to the PR application portal, which I've done videos on that in the past, that PR application portal is pretty close. So it has the same kind of look and feel to it. There are forms that are all there, individual for the applicant, for the dependents, and the same types of things that you would get for dependents in the context of express entry, there's a tip, are the same kinds of things that are going to be in the course. So you're going to have, like I said, a principal applicant, and the documents, there are going to be mandatory documents. And what are the documents that are on that list that are mandatory? Yes, police certificates and medicals, it says, are mandatory. But what does that mean? Mandatory means that you need to upload something in that slot. Otherwise, the system won't let you advance to finalize your application. you won't get to the big blue button. And that's exactly it. It's a blue button at the end. Once you've got everything completed nice with the little green check marks with circles under each of the documents that you're uploading, forms and documents, once you've got them all uploaded, then at that stage, you click the submit button. If it's not a nice blue, then, and it's grayed out, that means there's something wrong that you have to correct. All of the mandatory fields have to have something in them. And this is where the misinformation is spread all over. So on that document checklist, something that says mandatory doesn't mean that it is required up front. Mandatory means that they want something in there and it won't advance until you complete it. Why? Because that's a critical component. It's a required document for the application. But there is a difference, you guys, between eligibility, a document required to meet eligibility, and a document that's required for something that is, well, designed to assess admissibility. Police certificates, medicals are admissibility. They're not a part of the eligibility. And that's a very important distinction because the information that went out through whoever recorded the consultant big technical briefing that went out yesterday, I think it was, which I have some exceptions to that. I don't know if immigration was really happy with someone recording it, but hey, I got to watch it when people are telling me, Mark, you're wrong. The medicals and police certificates are required up front. And that's specifically what was said. That was what was interpreted. And then I went in and watched what Tracy said. And she did not say that they were mandatory documents that must be included up front. What she said was, if you have them, absolutely include them. But if you don't have them, then provide evidence that you've moved forward and you've requested them. That goes the same for medicals and police certificates. So every single one of you, I got to find something. I'll just do this. Okay. This is something to remember. Right now, if you have not yet requested your police certificate or your medical, go ahead and try to book it, try to request it, and have confirmation that you've made that attempt. That's what they've asked. Now, I've got my own opinions on whether or not even that is necessary, and whether or not maybe even an LOE that says, the medical, I can't get a medical for my dependent in my country because all the offices are closed. I can't even contact them because it's all closed because of the pandemic. You can't tell me, IRCC, that you're not going to accept that as a reason for not having your document. But even in the context of police certificates and medicals, they're not going to expect people to sit around and wait for a person to actually have their medical or receive their police certificate back as a mandatory document before they can file. And she was very clear. What she said is you cannot leave the box open. And that is true because in the way the system is designed, you cannot leave any of those mandatory spots that have little asterisks beside them. You will see what they are. You cannot leave any of those blank. You have to put something in there. And that something is going to vary depending upon your situation. If you've made a request, then you're going to put evidence of that email or however you applied, a screenshot, whatever it is, and you're going to upload it there with an explanation that says, please note, I've made my attempt to get the police certificate. It's likely not coming for a few weeks. I'll upload it later. In my guide, in my course that I'm doing, guys, I was going to release it already, but I didn't quite get it done, so I apologize. I've got some sample templates for what you put in there, depending on your circumstance. So that's the police certificate and that's the medical. Now I'll add something else about the medical. So when it comes to the medical, and remember guys, this is firsthand. This isn't me trying to create some, information from secondhand information that someone else has shared that maybe may or may not be the same. It's kind of like that game. Did you ever play that game as kids where the first person says something to one person and then their job is to pass it on to the next person? And sometimes it's not really simple. It's not like, what do you call the new program for immigration? Temporary resident to permanent resident pathways for essential workers and international grads and French speakers. I guess if you did that and someone had never heard that before and you shared that with one person and then they shared it with another, by the time it gets to the end of the line, right? By the time it circles all the way around, then that last person, they say, well, what did you hear? What did I say? It's often nothing like what the original source was. And that's the danger of relying upon second and third and fourth sets of information. And the reality is, you guys, I am not a primary source of information. I'm not. I'm a secondary source. Okay. So you can listen to all the videos that I do. I can give you all the help in the world. You can follow every single word that I've said, but understand the only thing that you guys are going to focus on going forward, the only thing is what you read in that guide. And when I go back to my course, when I see what's happening tomorrow, as soon as that guide's open, I'm going live in my private Facebook group, and I'm going to talk my way through it as I read it, as I show it right on the screen. I'm going to talk my way right through it. I've cleared off my whole schedule tomorrow to do that. But you guys out there, I'm not saying that you have to subscribe to my course or you're not going to be able to immigrate. Of course, I'm not saying that. The number of people are just a sliver compared to all of you that are going to run this on your own, or that have counsel that are trying to help you. Like I said, from 3:30 to 4:30, I spent a whole hour doing a live stream with the lawyers in my Canadian Bar Association, giving them the tools and helping them so that they could really help you. And option one is a representative that you can trust, a lawyer or an experienced immigration consultant that's got a track record of doing this stuff, that knows what they're doing, that can adapt to what they see. That's option one. Option two, well, then I will hold out hands down my course. And what do I charge? $347 US. I'll leave it at that. You can click on the link below if you're interested. There's still room. There's lots more to share. Okay, with that being said, let's continue on. I haven't even looked to see how many people. Oh my goodness. Never before have I had 1,118 people watching. All right, let's continue forward as I go through this all in my mind as I'm visualizing what I see. So medicals, the immigration medical, it says it's required. We've had lots of discussion about whether immigration is going to waive the medical requirement. Today, there was some discussion amongst the people on the call of potentially going back 5 years. Now, I'm not saying that they're ever going to do that, but your job when you are uploading your documents, what you're going to put into that slot is your immigration medical. And I don't care how old it is. You're going to include it in there. And then you're going to include, if it's been over a year, you're going to include an explanation saying that this is when your medical was taken. If you've never had a medical before, then you're going to reach out and you're going to contact a panel physician if you possibly can. And I don't care if you're booking that medical in December or January of next year. I don't care. Book it. That's what you're going to do tomorrow if you can get through. Find a panel physician and book it, and you're going to include that in that spot. For everyone else, you're going to include your previous medical, and you're going to say, "Here's a copy of my previous medical, and I await your instructions on whether or not this is going to be good enough." That's what you're going to do. Okay. Where do we go from here? As I walk through the process, you've got your forms. And like I said, there are going to be all the forms that I've talked about in my past videos. The application, the generic form, all of these forms, like I talked about before, generic form, the IMM-8, the background declaration form, the Schedule A, the additional family information, the travel form, and then even some of the forms that I talked about before, the optional ones, like if you've got a dependent overseas and another spouse, an ex-spouse, an authorization from them, the statutory declaration of common law union. And there's even a separate slot for you to upload the supporting documentation to support your common law relationship. There's a separate spot for it. Now, those things, common law, those things it's interesting because it says mandatory if applicable. Okay. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Those of you who are saying, "Mark, you don't know what you're talking about." It says mandatory, so I have to put it in there. It says mandatory on everything if applicable. So the ones that are truly optional, that you don't have to put something in that box to get it to finalize because you're not in a common law relationship. Well, of course, it's a no-brainer. So you have this process, and let's go back to the beginning. You register. So you can't do it tomorrow. You can't register until Thursday when it goes live. You're going to go in, you're going to give your email address. There isn't the same levels of security questions and things that you see for the GC key. It's not going to exist. It's going to be much simpler and easier to register. there'll be an email confirmation, you know, and then once you get that, you'll confirm it, and then you'll be able to log back in. So there's a registration spot and then a spot where you can go back in to log in. You go in, you log in, and then you choose your category. Now there's going to be a wizard. There's going to be a little tool there to help you determine which one's right for you. And it's also designed to, if you've gone through the profile for the express entry, it's similar to that. You're going to have a situation where you're be prepared to answer the questions. Well, you guys better be prepared with everything that I'm telling you. But when you go in on Thursday at 10 a.m., you're going to log in, you're going to register for your account, you're going to get a confirmation. Make sure you check your junk folder, just like always. When you get an email from me, now I'm getting people that are sometimes saying that my emails are going into the junk folder. So watch that like a hawk. Immediately after you send in your registration, then validate it, then log in. When you log in, you'll be confronted with the option, and I think it's an option, to go through and complete the wizard and figure out which program's right for you. You guys are probably not going to need it. You guys that are here that are watching this, you guys are probably not going to require that little wizard to tell you which program. There will be a drop-down list, and you're going to choose which one's yours. Essential worker, healthcare, the international grad, a French speaker. And once you're going through that process, it's not going to be the same as Express Entry, where you have to upload your your language test results in order to advance through. That doesn't exist. But what happens is you're going to be asked questions about your family. You're going to be asked questions, you know, how many do you have dependents? And when you answer those, then it's going to set up each of the sections with forms and documents for you. Those forms and documents will be geared to whatever program that you've said that you qualify through. So make sure that you know what you're doing, okay? And obviously, the document checklist for the International Grad Program will vary slightly from the documents that are required for essential workers. And for obvious reasons, right? You know that you have to prove that you're in one of those NOCs. Like I've said repeatedly, Express Entry, the Completeness Check website, that site is going to be one of the places that you can look at even right now to start preparing. The documents that are listed in there are very similar to what's going to be required for this. Now, with that being said, and I'll say it again, my information is secondhand. So I heard it straight from the source, the people who actually created it, but you're getting it secondhand through me. And I'm pretty sure I'm not telling you stuff that isn't correct, but your primary source of information will be the guide. Read it inside out. Spend the time to prepare. If you don't sleep tomorrow night, well, get a good night's sleep tonight, okay? And get everything ready. When you have access to the guide, you will be able to start completing those forms. Now, I'm almost positive, okay, but you're going to need to check. Every form in the bottom left corner will have a date stamp on it. And the generic form has to be a new one. So the IMM 0008 generic application for permanent residence, that generic form is going to be new because there's a new drop down. So you choose economic and then you choose TR to PR pathway, which I'm super stoked because that's what I called my course, TR to PR pathways. And that's what I've been calling it. And it's, yeah, it appears that that's what immigration likes too. So anyways, you go through and as you answer all those eligibility, it will populate everything for you depending upon your program. And then you're going to upload documents. And I was waiting to see a special upload section beside the generic form to distinguish it from all the other forms. But there wasn't. And so this doesn't have any AI associated with these buttons that scans your documents to make sure that it's kind of the one that they're looking for. And that's even for the generic form. There was nothing distinguishable about it. So with the generic form, you're going to complete it all, and everything you're going to complete on your computers, guys, and you're going to validate it, okay? And you're going to save it, and then you're going to upload it. But after the change, and I've told you guys repeatedly, I said, don't need signatures. And then I said, you need signatures. But when all said and done, you do not need signatures. In fact, for all of you representatives, you consultants and lawyers that are watching this right now, and it's hard to believe, 1,138. All of you that are listening that are representatives, the one crazy, just really mind-boggling thing with this is that they require a wet signature on our use of representative forms. Now, I know many people are just so frustrated with this, but let me explain to you why. Our industry is scuzzy. There's a lot of people out there who are claiming that they know what they're doing with immigration, who really don't. There's people that don't have the same ethical standards that we have, and they're within our ranks. And they will merely go ahead, take people's money, submit an application, and don't even care to follow the proper protocols. They won't even inform the clients. How many times have you that are individuals here who have used other representatives who have never allowed you to actually look at what's being submitted before they submit it? My goodness. Like I had seven consultations today. Actually, no, it's a blur. I had 7 yesterday. I had 5 today. And I can tell you that 1/3 of them had used a previous representative, filed an application, and they never knew actually what went in there. They didn't know what went in there. So because of that, immigration now wants to be able to defend when they refuse your application for not having information. They don't want you as an individual to be able to say, well, I didn't know, my consultant just did it, and then file some, a reconsideration request and waste their time just because the representative that you hired was crooked, unscrupulous, and dishonest, and just was taking your money to submit an application knowing that you didn't have a prayer of getting qualified. And I know from the ranks of representatives, they vary. There's some excellent immigration lawyers. There's some great consultants out there, but there's so many that just don't know what they're doing. And it's just, they're the ones who are ruining it for everyone. But well, it doesn't matter as long as it's really easy to qualify and anyone can become a representative, then that's what's going to happen. So because of that, the government has created programs like this that are really geared towards individual applicants. And so wet signatures for your representatives are just a way of life. So go right now and get all of your clients to sign those use of representatives immediately. Do it now. Send them, get them to sign them, have them, get ready. Those ones will be electronic. Those will need to be wet signatures that are scanned and uploaded. Okay, the rest of the forms, like I talked about, the background declaration form, the new form, the Schedule C, and I actually did make a note of what it was called. Let me see if I can find it here. And you guys can maybe go searching for it if you want to. It's called, and here, I'll put it up right on the screen so that everybody can see what the new form that nobody has seen before is going to be called. It is called I love the name of it. Oh, here we go. It's funny. Everybody's like waiting with bated breath. It's crazy all the pops that I hear every time someone posts a comment. I'm not going to answer a lot of questions today, guys. This is all about just teaching you. Well, I'll show you the whole thing, what it says. Okay, here you go. This is the new form right here. This is what it's called. So make a note of that. Schedule 3, TR to PR pathway, IMM 0130, comma, mandatory. Everything says comma. And then once you complete it, then right below it, it'll have a little check mark. And here's something that's also cool for all of you. Do you know how express entry is so crazy? Those of you who have gone through the process, especially representatives who've filed express entry applications, and when you upload, you just don't know whether you've got the right document. Well, I don't know if 100% this is what it is. They didn't say this, but when you add a file to the section, then what appears below is a review button, which, boom, why that wasn't created in express entry, I don't know, but you can click that review button and I'm almost positive it's going to let you see what you uploaded. Oh, I'm doing one of these. I'm cheering. That is awesome, isn't it? So there's the new form. This is one that you will only see probably tomorrow. So that's the one you guys need to pay attention to. And what's going to be in that form? It's going to cover information for eligibility, right? It's going to ask those questions that are not covered off within the, let's see, what do we got? Like the generic form, the background declaration form, the supplementary information, your travels. So I'll just read off. IMM 0008 generic application form for Canada. The Schedule 3, this one right here, TR to PR pathway, 0130. There's the Schedule A, 5669, supplementary information, your travels, IMM 5562, additional family information, 5406, and then, you know, a bunch of other documents, right? Obviously the data page. It's interesting because it says copy of the biographical data page of a passport or travel document. What does that tell to me? If it says it's a data page, well, sweet. Maybe I don't need all those stamp pages, right? Maybe, maybe not. I guess we'll see, but you'll learn in the guide. And then some of the other examples of documents, I'll just let you know that are traditionally mandatory. Now, there's going to be other ones that relate specifically to, well, let me just go through some of the list here. So there's going to be, like I said, medical and police both say mandatory beside them, but I've already told you my position on that. Digital photos, proof of language proficiency. Do not even think that you're going to be able to use an academic IELTS. No, don't listen to anyone that tells you that. When it comes to medical, you are not going to be able to provide an old one. Like I said, with the medical for the IELTS test, I better get my terminology correct. For immigration medicals, yes, you're going to put an old one in there, and you're going to explain that you're prepared to get a new one, and even book an appointment. But when it comes to your language tests, IELTS, CELPIP, you cannot include an expired one and then hope to perfect it after by saying, I've got a test booked on May 10th. You're not eligible. You're not eligible. Do not submit an application. It will be refused. You will lose $1,050 as well as, well, what else? As well as the $4,000 or whatever you paid the consultant or whoever else is advising you to do that. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Proof of authorization to work. This is an important one. This is one I have to add to my course. A copy of your copy of your work permit or your study permit that are valid. What do you do if you don't have a valid work permit? Well, hopefully you've applied to extend that, and you're now under maintained status, which is the new cool lingo the government uses, immigration instead of implied status. No one understood what implied status meant during the pandemic when everybody was hanging, waiting for months and months to get an application, and then their medicals, their healthcare was expiring, their driver's license were expiring, and the provincial authorities are like, what the heck is implied status? I don't know what that means. So they decided to change it to maintain status. Sure, that's good. I don't care. Whatever works. So, so authorization to work, which could be either study permit or work permit. Current work experience, right? Proof of current work experience. Yep, you need that. That's a critical component to all of the programs. What does that mean? Well, you absolutely need a reference letter. If you don't have a reference letter confirming that you're currently employed, then, well, good luck to you. Like, there may be other ways that you can actually work around that through job offer letters, like a pay slip maybe that you've got. There might be a bunch of other things that you can do. Hopefully, the guide tomorrow will clarify that for you. All right, what else do we have on our list? Proof of entry and status in Canada. Wow. What the heck does that mean? That's a new one. Proof of entry and status in Canada. Well, I guess if you think about it, proof of entry and status, well, status is kind of like your valid work permit, right? Proof of entry would be maybe your original visa on your passport when you came in. Maybe you've got a boarding pass showing when you arrived in Canada, but that's proof of entry, I guess. But I'm waiting for the guide. The guide will hopefully clarify that for us, but start collecting those things. And then proof of qualifying work experience. So that's a critical component. And if I was to point you somewhere, go to the CEC information, go to the Completeness Check website, go to Express Entry and see what's required to meet 1 year for the purposes of Canadian Experience class. If you do that, you're going to be totally fine with this program. If you don't, you're taking your chances. All right. Okay, we're just about up to 1,200 people. That's pretty crazy. And then, there's a bunch of other stuff that, like I said, is considered mandatory, but only if applicable. Like the evidence, the stat deck of common law union, the evidence of common law, and cohabitation. And then ironically, the use of representative form is on there. And then, like I said, you're going to go through and you're going to include everything that you can get your hands on that, right now and not wait. You're going to bundle it into nice little bundles, because each of these things I read off has their own separate section to upload it. And there's going to be a separate section for, for principal applicants. There's going to be a separate section for spouses, and there's going to be a separate section for dependents. Speaking of dependents, what are some things that they ask for dependent? Well, let's see, not that one. I'm trying to figure out where I recorded this. Boy, let's try that one. Yeah, that works. So documents for dependents. Remember, if your dependents are outside of Canada, they can come. You don't have to list them as non-accompanying just to increase your CRS to get an ITA. That's gone. Poof, history. What you're going to include is every single dependent that fits in the definition of a dependent. And no, a dependent is not your parent or grandparent. No, it's not your sister or brother. The dependent is a dependent child that's under 22. If they hit 22, they're not a dependent unless they're dependent upon you because of a disability or some other medical, reason. Dependents, children are they're under that, under 22. The moment they hit 22, and even if they're reliant upon you financially, they're not a dependent. So, so for those children, what do you have on the list? Well, the biographical data page of a passport or travel document. Medical examination. Yep. Even overseas. So that's a required document. It's mandatory. And there's a little red button beside it. Copy of the birth certificate or other equivalent document. So you have to prove that they're your child. Digital photos. Yep. You need a digital photo to upload. And then after that, it depends upon whether or not the child is over 18 years old. If they're 18 or over, then they have to complete their own background declaration, additional family information. They have to provide police certificates, which are also mandatory. And and that goes the same for a spouse, right? A spouse also has to provide Schedule A, additional family information, police certificate, and ironically, well, they all have to do medicals. So there you go. That's pretty much as far as what I can reveal in terms of the forms and documents at the highest level that I can put together for you. Now, going forward, you upload them. You got these nice little green little buttons underneath saying, yeah, you've uploaded something into the folder, right? It's not screening it out. So make darn sure that what you're uploading is exactly what gets in there. Now that maybe we have an opportunity to see it, whoo, that's awesome. So, there's so much spinning in my head. I'm trying to cover systematically without anything, just thinking through my mind as I view the process and the walkthrough that we received. The fee receipt. Then once you've got this all completed, then it prompts you to upload your fee receipt. So those of you who've paid for your fee receipt in advance, I even heard some people who were then panicking, who rushed to pay it, and then are now requesting a refund. Oh, we just don't know. I told everybody, wait till we get the guide or till we get clarification, even though it showed up on the fee payment, list. And so the reality is it's fine. That's your fee. You can upload that, but make sure that you've chosen the correct fees. The guide will tell you. So tomorrow, once you figured out what the fees are, understand you're not going to race off and pay those fees unless you are 100% certain that you qualify. Don't waste your time. Make sure that you're fully qualified. And then if that's the case, then there's no harm in you requesting and paying for your fee tomorrow once you've got a chance to look at the guide. And once again, I'm going to reiterate, what I'm telling you is secondhand. What the other people out there are telling you, unless they were a part of the 5 people that were in the group. And I don't know how fast, Dory and the person that was with him, spread this out to the other consultants. I don't know. For the lawyers, the CBA, me and Ravi, I did a live stream with them, so they know. And then Acadie, I'm sure David did a good job of sharing it with the Quebec-based lawyers, but it's always tricky for them, right? Because you have to demonstrate an intention to reside outside of the province of Quebec. Whew, there's a whopper. And interestingly enough, as a part of optional documents, maybe that's something that you're going to have to put in there, right? Maybe there will be open spots where you have room to put in other things, immigration lawyers and consultants. There will be a spot for you to upload a submission letter if that's what you choose to do. All right. I know I could spend, like, as I look at the comments here, I know there's 1,000 gazillion people that have posted comments. I know they have, and it's just not possible to go through. And yeah, so I just wanted to share this information and let you guys all know what to expect. Let me pull up my list and see what other things that I can tell you that I have not yet clarified. I know there's one that they're waiting for me to re-ask because I asked it in the technical briefing and they didn't understand what I meant. And so I have to go back and circle back and send it back to the head people so they can clarify and then get it back to us. But I've been in consults. I've been doing this nonstop. So after I'm done this live, then I'm going to jump on. Now, in 15 minutes, I have another consult with a client who was kind enough to let me move their consult to a later time, so I can't go any further past 6 p.m. But let me go through a few things just to clarify for everyone, okay? So like I said, reiterating, and I think we're tired of looking at that form. We know it's there. Oh, I can't get rid of it off my screen. So I'll do it this way. Okay, so first thing we know is that right around the time that the minister does his big splash tomorrow, the guide will appear and the instructions on the IRCC website. Next, the program will launch at 12 p.m. Eastern time, 12 p.m. And I think everybody's probably reported it 100 times, which for me here is 10 a.m. Mountain time. Police certificates and medicals, like I said before, they show on the list as being mandatory. But what I'm telling you guys now is to go and just make the request. If you don't have them, make the request. If you have them, upload them. You're going to be ahead of the game. Why are they asking for them up front? Because they want to have as much of the documentation in place so that they can process you as quickly as possible. Why was this whole program created? The TR to PR pathway program was created to help the government hit their levels planning. And it's created a firestorm of controversy. But you know what? Whenever you're trying to do something like this, it's going to have people that are going to miss out. It's going to have people that are not going to qualify. It's like Draw 176, right? 27,332 invitations. Low score of 75. Who would have ever thought of it? So many people were upset because if they'd known, they would have been in the portal. Well, the reality is if everybody had known, those people that got it at 80 or that person who received an ITA at 75 wouldn't have had an opportunity for permanent residence. So they've been languishing here and never got a shot. And then there's people here now that are going to lose out. People that can't get the day off, their employer won't let them. And will it still be open by the time the evening comes? I'll be honest, 90,000 people aren't watching this. Right now I have 1,219 people watching this. You guys all know now exactly what to do, and you're going to be ready. And if you've got the documents, you're going to be able to hit in the pavement running. You're going to have a huge leg up. People that are just looking at it for the first time are going to wondering what hit them, right? So that's something you have to take into consideration. And so when immigration says that they are going to launch it and it's a first come, first serve, people are going to be able to benefit from that because they're ready and they're just in that right spot. Other people are not. They're going to miss out because they don't have a language test. Think of all you international students who are so upset. And I totally understand that maybe your confirmation of graduation is not going to come soon enough. You need to have that. Without it, don't apply. If you do not have it, you can't just say, I will get it. I did finish my classes. I really did. Here's my timetable. You need confirmation of graduation. Otherwise, you're not going to be eligible. And those of you who maybe don't have the 1 year yet, but you international grads, many of you are going to be able to qualify through the essential worker program if you've accumulated those 1,560 hours, 1 year of work experience over the past 3. You could have done that while you were on your study permit. Express Entry didn't allow that. So many of you a lot of you may potentially be able to meet that and qualify earlier. But you international grads, you've been given a lot. Yes, the last year was awful, but 18-month work permits to extend your ability to reclaim the time that you lost. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Think of what other countries have been doing for their international students. And now, even though you may not make the cut, 40,000 is going to go fast. Wow, it's going to go fast. But when it does, you still have your postgrad. you still have express entry. And the last draw was 400. We're going to see another one. It's going to go below 400. So there are opportunities for you. The people that I'm thinking about the most are those on the front lines. Those that are working in control yourself, Mark. In the seniors facilities. My mom's a senior. She worked in those for years as an LPN. And those that are on the front lines caring for the elderly, the most vulnerable in society, you are the ones that I'm worried about. And that's why with the Canadian Bar Association, a lot of our members have really expressed frustration about the fact that people can't just retain a lawyer to do it in the way it always has been. If someone's working, if they're on the front lines during that day and they're not available at 10 because they're on shift caring for people, those are the people that I've got real concerns about. And that's why I don't like how this program was launched by the government, because there are those people. And I think they should have done something separate, at least for them, but even all the other frontline workers. So maybe our hospitals and all of our healthcare facilities are all going to shut down here because everybody's taking May 6th off. Maybe that's the reality, right? So you Canadians or permanent residents that are watching this, fill in for those temporary workers who are working alongside you that may not have a pathway to permanent residence. Fill in for them. Take an extra shift, double shift, so that they can take the day off to do this. That's my recommendation to you. All right. And I know people are continuing to post the comments. And like I said today, I'm just not going to be able to, I'm just not going to be able to get to questions. And it wouldn't be fair to even probably answer one. But this is all that I know. I've got a few more minutes here. What are some other things that come to mind that I can teach you? 4 megabytes. The maximum file size for uploading into those sections is 4 megabytes. They're working on a work permit that's akin to the public policy, that's akin to a bridging work permit, but it's going to have to be by public policy. Remember, bridging work permits are all based on the economic programs. This is not, this is a creature of public policy. I've already told you, no IELTS academic, it won't work. I'm still waiting to hear. And the question that I'm asking is whether or not a 1-year post-grad diploma that's only 8 months or whatever it is will work in the same category as a degree, or whether it will be, whether it will need to be a 2-year program. And that's something that I'm just not certain about. And that's the question I have to ask immigration as soon as I jump off of this call. Well, I've got a consult right after this. Okay, Canadian dependents. They're not going to really distinguish. This is going to be something that lots of people have asked me. Do I need to upload my additional family information and my background declaration form for my Canadian spouse or dependents? Well, the reality is they don't distinguish. If you say Canadian, then it doesn't appear on the document checklist. Everything's going to appear there. So you need to put something in it. And, is everything mandatory? Will it get refused because you haven't included a background declaration for a Canadian spouse or a police certificate? No, there's no basis upon which to refuse an application because those things are not included, but they still want you to disclose that they're there. So what am I telling everyone? Well, you can make your own decision what you want to do if you have a Canadian spouse or a Canadian child, but I'm just going through the motions. If I need to upload, like even digital photos, I'm just not taking any chances. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to submit it, even though it's probably not likely. I'm just not taking any chances. Let's see here. Trying to see if there's anything here that from my notes that I'm missing. I think that's probably it, guys. I think that's it. Good luck to all of you. What do you, I don't know what the Hunger Games, what is that thing that the Hunger Games says? May the odds always be in your favor. I guess maybe that's appropriate in these circumstances, but thanks for following. I hope this was helpful. I genuinely wanted to do everything that I could to get this information out to as many people as possible. And I see there's questions that are just piling in nonstop. So, and this is probably, I'll click this one here. HP, I agree. So nervous. I think, and here's the thing that's so crazy. Yeah, may the 4th be with you. How about may the 6th be with you? How does that sound? We can say it, may the 6th be with you. So get your stuff, start preparing everything now. Last little reminders for people, jump on, go book your medical, book your police certificate if you can. If you can't book, then keep a copy, a printout, something saying it's closed and we can't do it. Whatever you can do, because those things show in the form that they're mandatory, but you don't have to have them. They're not mandatory in the sense that they form a part of eligibility and your application will be refused if you don't submit them up front. No. And that's the miscommunication. All right. I think I'm going to end a little bit early here. Thank you so much for watching. I will continue to go live and I will continue to update you as I learn things. When the guide's created, if I see things that maybe I need to correct or change, I'll be on here to let you know. But going forward, it's the course and the people in the course that are going to get all of my attention and that one client of mine. So thanks so much. Good luck, everybody. And yeah, may the 6th be with you. Take care.